So when you harvest the garlic, then you hang it. For the average person, why is that? Why can't you just pull the garlic and eat it as it is?
Technically, you can. You could go out to the field today, pull a bulb, and take it to your kitchen right away. What drying does for it is maximize its storage. So again, here in Alberta, we're looking at a long game where, we have fresh garlic right now, but it's not going to be growing again until May. So by drying it, it helps, the papers when you peel a garlic bulb. That's what it's doing, is drying those papers, which then seals off the bulb so no fungus can get in or mold or whatever. And so it's setting you up for a winter supply of garlic.
And how long do you have to dry it for?
It really depends on the year and the humidity in the air. Typically, it's like a 3 to 4 weeks.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, last year was more like 5 weeks because it was just so damp and took a long time.
So one thing I've noticed with commercial store-bought garlic compared to farm garlic is that the husk around the clove is a lot lighter. So you could take like a commercial grocery store clove, put it between your hands and rub it, and that husk will come off. But usually with the fresh farm garlic, it's quite a bit thicker. You almost have to cut it or peel it or crush it to get that off.
So essentially, that's because it's fresh.
Okay.
A lot of times, there's a really noticeable difference between a bulb that's only, a few weeks old, a couple months old, even 8 months old. There's such a difference between what's in the store because lots of times the stuff in the store could be a year old, it could be 2 years old. A lot of other countries, if it's imported in, depending on where it comes from, they don't necessarily have the same rules that we do, where it could be sprayed with a growth inhibitor, which is why it doesn't sprout. So really, it could be any age, and that's why you'll notice it's dry or it cracks or it comes apart really easily. And so it is convenient when you're cooking to get it off like that, but it's actually when it's tough like that, like our farm garlic, that's what you want.
It's more protective. It is fresher in a sense then, because then that skin hasn't had the chance to break down.
Exactly.
So that's a good indication of freshness then.
Yeah, and if you ever notice like your bulbs are from the store starting to crack along the cloves, like you might see that, and that's another indication that might be slightly older garlic. So, that's a really nice thing about Alberta grown or fresh garlic of some kind is the intense flavor that we have. And it's so noticeable, the difference, that it's, once you start eating this stuff, it's really hard to go back to the other kind.
Well, and in saying that, you've grown the garlic, but then over the course of the few years, you've made a number of different product lines from the garlic.
Yeah, it's been a really fun offshoot of it. And what it all comes down to is that up until this point, I worked in healthcare, and even though I'd quit my job to do the garden full time, I was still needing some kind of income throughout the winter. So I was working casually in the hospital in the winter. And basically, I just wanted something that was year round, which is where the garlic comes into play. So I still do the garden. It's 6 months intensive during the summer. It's very seasonal. The garlic, it grows during the summer, but the time that we actually get to play with it or create with it is the winter, which is when I have all the free time in the world. And it's been a really fun and cool experience getting to make these new, flavors and products and get to share them with people. And my brain is just constantly always going, and my dad and I bounce ideas off each other. And this summer we started a dip mix that was made with dehydrated garlic scapes. So already something kind of different. And then we went around for pretty much the whole month of June and foraged wild rose petals. And so we dehydrated them, put them together with a few other little spices. And the idea was so that you could mix it with cream cheese or sour cream or something and just have that kick of garlic with this pretty little flower petal in it. And we called it the Rosebriar blend, which is the area that we live in is called Rosebriar. And it's this kind of, like a tribute to the community that raised me. And it was just so neat that all of the ingredients came off our farm directly, and it's just another side to things that I just never really saw coming.
And a different seasonality too, because
For sure.
a lot of the garlic, again, whether it's your smoked black garlic, whether it's the pickled garlic, the garlic powder now, there's so many products in that realm of the clove itself. But then one thing that not a lot of people utilize or know about garlic is the garlic scapes. So then with the dip mix and your pickled garlic scapes now and a few other notions of it, it's a different time of the season, but a different, again, product line for the same product, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, garlic is one of those things that unfortunately, just with the growing season and the way it stores, we have a bit of a gap in our year here where there really isn't fresh garlic, right? Because typically this is harvested in August, it hangs till September, stores 6 to 8 months. So by March, April, we're kind of at the end of our supply, which we actually this year are trialing something with a spring plant garlic where it's planted in May, harvested in late September, possibly October, and it might carry through until, May, June maybe. But then that's where garlic scapes come into play, where they are the edible flowering stalk of a garlic plant. And so it's a slightly milder garlic flavor and kind of similar to an asparagus in texture. But it can be used essentially as your fresh garlic in any recipe. So instead of having to wait until September until we have fresh bulbs, we have garlic scapes in July. And so July, August, we've got scapes. We've made them into dehydrated products or powders or what have you, relish. And it's just another way to kind of prolong garlic season.
And for the garlic products, where are you predominantly selling them?
A lot of it is actually just direct from the farm here. With the last year, with the pandemic and everything, I was originally planning on doing big markets and being at the, different events and food festivals. And of course, those didn't happen. So it was kind of a year for pivoting and trying to rearrange things a little bit. And surprisingly, online orders have been probably our biggest form of sale, which I wasn't really expecting, but
the adaptation of the
Yeah.
current market, people have been supportive, which is good.
And I think that's just kind of, the world that we've lived in this year. So it's something that I hope we'll be able to have those big markets again and be able to actually put a face to the product that you're buying and have a conversation one-on-one like this with whoever is, growing your food versus buying your products or what have you. Because I think that's a really important connection to make.
It builds that relationship between the consumer and the producer, which is really, really important. It's better than going to some big chain grocer and buying something you don't know where it's coming from.
For sure. And not only connection between consumer and producer, but also the consumer to their food.
Which is a really good point.
Yeah.
And how many bulbs did you grow this year?
We harvested about 50,000.
Is that the largest crop that you guys have done?
Very
so far?
much so, yeah. We almost doubled our crop from last year, and then this fall, in just another few weeks here, we'll be planting probably 80,000 bulbs. So,
what's the main driving force behind the massive increase?
part of it is to be self-sufficient. Garlic is one of those things that, one of these bulbs here, let's say this one has 6 cloves in it, so we could plant one bulb and get, 6 bulbs next year because each clove is a seed. So by having a bigger crop size, we're able to pull our own seed and then not have to buy off farm. And it's just a way of making it, kind of a full circle.
Yep.
With that being said, it's also something that's just been, the ball's been rolling and it's gone well so far. And it's one of those things where we have the land and I don't really want to be a grain farmer someday. So, if this is a niche market that we can get into and make happen, let's go for it.
Well, especially with the responsiveness that you have in getting and the diversity of products that you have been making, It definitely seems like there's a lot of growth potential in it.
For sure. And as always, I always have a big plans going along. And someday, maybe next year, what I'd love to do is to somehow focus more on the garlic in the fall and clear out the space for a big long table dinner and then do some farm to table things with my favorite chefs.
Especially with the wall of garlic.
Exactly.
Which would be pretty amazing. I'd like to thank Kristin from Fifth Gen Gardens for her hospitality and amazing products. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Friends of the Pit.